What's up, everyone? Happy Friday, and welcome to the game on Pax8 Live, the show where we discuss all of the cybersecurity shenanigans you need to be aware of. We're going to have a very special episode today, talking a lot about Pax8 Beyond with the one and only Nick Heddy. We're super excited to have him on, but before we jump in, please don't forget to sign up for Pax8 Beyond. But as I understand it, time is very much so running out, so do it now. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, comment with us. We are watching the chat. We would love to interact with you. And with that, let's dive straight into the news. What's up, Matt?
Man, good afternoon. We made it and survived to one more Friday, as did each of you out there, right? So we're here.
The storm apocalypse is not planning to start until 4 o'clock today, so I think we'll be okay. Should make it.
You and Teapot make a truce, or just figure it out? I figured
we figured it out together.
Weather.
Yeah.
Okay, that's good. I'm glad to hear it. We got to bury the hatchet at some point, right? All right, so let's dig into the news. We are really close to getting ready for Beyond, and we want to make sure everybody's thinking about the security. So let's dig into it. We have another city. Wes Spencer was talking about this morning, but BlackByte ransomware gang is massively active yet again. And we just saw this one pop up yesterday. U.S. Augusta city targeted by BlackByte ransomware
headline.
gang. It is a terrible headline. Like I stumble over it, right? But you dig into it, and one of the things that they're saying is that they say, to substantiate their claims, that they have 10 gigs of sample data they're threatening to release if the victim doesn't pay. Now, they're well known for double extortion. And Dom, do you mind just kind of reminding everybody? You started down this path. We kind of got into this with Wes directly on the show, but what is double extortion?
Yeah, double extortion came about when we got decent at backups, right? Ransomware was hitting our data, and we realized if we had good backups, we could just roll back to the nearest restoration point. So threat actors are going to threat act. They got smart. They now steal a copy of said data and they hold on to it. And the double piece of that extortion is if you don't pay the ransom, we're just going to sell that data. Or even nowadays, we're just seeing a lot of releasing it for free and letting you take the reputational and other hits that are going to come with that.
Yeah. And if you think about a city and the things they possess, I think they had photos of homeless people was part of this conversation. They had stuff they were tracking about that. So you might have those things exposed. But when you think about it, there's all kinds of stuff that's not necessarily public. Now, the reason we have Florida Man, which I'm from Florida, so I can say this, is because of the Sunshine Law, which made basically everything public record. So every time you saw something in court that was out, but in Kansas or in other places, you may not see that same thing, right? And so this doxing that's happening from city data could be really, really bad. And if there's an advocation to someone serving that space, if JP Kesey and team do a lot of that, it's about segmentation of data. It's about principles of least privilege. It's about the same things we talk about on the show all the time. Is how you limit the damage of this, because they might get in and get something, but they may not have all the juicy bits, right? And presumably you're protecting the juicy bits in a way that's even more and more building for those things as they're more and more risky to you.
And Augusta's a larger city, right? So they have a lot of agencies that smaller municipalities aren't going to have, right? They probably have some form of human service agency and housing authority, to the point of pictures of homeless folks potentially being in this breach. But you also have to factor in police departments and their CISSP data, prosecutors, the courts, the municipal courts,
payroll,
all of
tax,
that comes into play.
Contact details. Right. Yeah, all of it.
It's not good, and I would advocate for a CMMC-esque program to govern local municipalities and ideally fund them, because Augusta's a larger city. I don't know what their financial situation is, but if you look at really rural towns, when they have to be digitized, it just is what it is, right?
Sure.
But they don't have the tax revenue that these larger municipalities have, so they need help to get over that cyber hump. In every municipality, it doesn't matter how small it is, has some sort of data about the people that work for them, some sort of data about the citizens. They have their own law enforcement agency that comes into play. So there's a lot of different things to consider. So I would absolutely support, we're seeing cities get attacked on an almost weekly basis at this point. Something needs to change.
Yep. And the data they hold is usually in antiquated systems that take RFPs that take you 3 months to get a request so that you can get into and do something. And then they say, well, it's on next year's budget cycle, so we cut over in June. Dealing with the state and local or SLED worlds is really, really tough. So this is a losing fight, but it's our data, and you get into that being driving our world. So let's get into how it happens, right? So let's go over to a WordPlus, that's the one.
Word
A
plus.
WordPress vulnerability, right? Exposed Ferrari's website. Now, Ferrari presumably doesn't make a lot of money, and they have a very, very limited budget. They're not a high value product in any way, so there's no way they could afford to deal with a plugin from 2019. The CVE that came into this was a 2019 CVE. Now, sometimes those can be right, a free plugin. Back to the Ferrari can't afford licensed software, right? To this point, but yeah, you see this playing out, and when we talk about this, if you go through the Verizon DBIR, every year I look at it, I never see anything more than just hygienic stuff that genuinely is, did your kids learn to take the trash out before Friday and make sure it was at the street? Like, we're at this level of cybersecurity, and yet we see it play out all the time. And it's what tells me why there's so much of a gap and what we have to grow. But it isn't just limited to SMBs. This isn't just a cyber poverty problem. This isn't just something tied to purely an inability or a poor me. This is a lack of care. This is a lack of drive. You're not going to be able to convince me that unless that patch and that 2019 vulnerability was held but numbered and never released, and they didn't know about it, and they missed one patch cycle, which is not likely the case, that they didn't just abjectly not set up the automation that you sell me for my website, Dom, right? Like, at the end of the day, the basic stuff, just hygiene. Did you brush your teeth?
I've been in WordPress for a long time, and there was a day when it was hard to keep it up to date. And it is the world's most popular content management system, or CMS, by a wide margin, like significant. But that also means it's well supported by a community. And the plugin mentioned in here is W3 Total Cache. It's one of the most popular plugins in the category. It's very frequently. So this is not the developer didn't patch it scenario. I picked this one because I was entertained by it. Because it is such a big name that trades high value assets or commodities. So it was really interesting to look at. And it's just a reminder, everything needs patched, right? If you're not asking your customers about their WordPress website and making sure that it gets patched, that's a big one, right? I've seen doctors' offices with contact form plugins that pull huge amounts of health information into the WordPress database. So you have to think about these scenarios. All of the technology.
And people, and people say it doesn't matter. It's just my website. It's public information. There's nothing sensitive. Here's where I'll say this is wrong. I actually got a attack against me on my cell phone against my private trust persona, Dom, which you're aware of, right? And so I saw this attack. I started going down the kill chain of it and determined that there was a law firm in South Florida that their website was a poisoned watering hole. Someone had compromised their website, presumably by something just like this, with some remote code execution capability in WordPress. And then they hosted the attack surface for me. Why? Because it's a trusted website, because it's not likely to be blocked, because it's just normal stuff, and it's just a part of the kill chain. Well, imagine a name like Ferrari. You don't think that's a very juicy one that's going to make most people's trust, where my executive wants to go buy his Ferrari, he's not going to be blocked by the DNS filter and go, no, I can't look at my Ferrari. No, this is happening. Nick Heddy's going, I'm buying a Ferrari. It's happening if I want it to happen. You're opening up the damn filter. And I would agree as a security professional, right? And so this is what they abuse. And a lot of people miss that. This is absolutely one of those things where just because data is not sensitive, it doesn't mean that your reputation and the things that you need to protect aren't just as valuable. And I think this is the case where, Ferrari even failed at that. And I say this almost exculpatorily to MSPs, of saying, this is all of us with this problem. This isn't just you as an MSP or an SMB. This is all of us. And so great call out on this one, Dom. This one hit me quite personally recently. The funniest part was when I called the receptionist at the law firm in Florida to let them know I'm a threat researcher and that I had found this, and I wanted them to know that this was. So she goes, yeah, we had a breach right now. We've got people in the conference room. Whoa. Don't say breach. You literally work for an attorney firm. Like, take her easy, sister. Maybe don't share so much information, right? So anyways, I got a good chuckle that day, but I digress. Let's move on to the last one. All right. So this one, Dom, if you want to explain what's happening here, would be great, because this is another ransomware gang, but some of the people involved in this is pretty big. So what's going on here?
Yeah. So this is a supply chain attack, and we always like to talk about supply chain attacks because you have to have that in the back of your head, right? Particularly when you're working with and vetting out vendors that you're going to use, vendors that your customers are going to use. That's a huge one. That's part of vendor management.
Yeah.
So Casepoint is a
Control 15.
significant. Casepoint is a significant
accidental
in scale law tech firm or legal tech firm, right? So they obviously provide technology services to lawyers. This is a discovery platform for litigation, according to the
Yep.
article. I didn't read much into the tool itself, but they are alleging that there was a breach involved, and the threat actors are claiming that they got data related to the courts, federal courts, SEC, Securities and Exchange Commission, Department of Defense, Marriott, ironically. Not Marriott's fault this time. Good for them.
And this is
And
also the
I
second
had
showing
to.
of Black Cat, right? This is
It
also
is.
another
Yeah.
Black Cat affiliated. Now they claim that it's not. You've got the organization coming back and saying no, Casepoint saying it's not Black Cat, but Black Cat's claiming it. And typically they've been pretty accurate when they've gotten into somewhere. I think it's usually just part of that challenge we find with transparency around reporting
Right.
incidents for a lot of companies. There's still a lot of shame in it when in reality it's all of us. So short story is this one is big because when you talk about legal precedent and you talk about discovery and you talk about the things that are covered by this type of platform, the make or break of that case can be tied to this evidence in chain of custody. And now you have the
Right.
ability, and I think we'll see this play out, and this is probably going to be something I'll tackle with Brad Gross again, but is I think you'll start seeing challenges to legal evidence because of compromises where someone could say it is possible that data was tainted. It is possible because of this breach that data was not valid. And therefore, I would actually challenge that it can't be introduced. And you could see some very
We could look
interesting
at a
things play out.
super basic example of that. So the obviously body worn cameras have been
And that term's
massively
what? Fruit from
implemented
the
in law
poison tree, I
enforcement.
guess.
Right.
Go
It
ahead.
is.
Sorry.
Yeah, fruit from the poison tree. Body worn cameras are now like mainstream in policing, right? And a lot of people don't think about this, and the reason they're so expensive to implement is because there is a whole chain of custody consideration related to how that footage gets downloaded from those devices, stored and maintained to maintain that integrity, right, of the data in the CIA triad. And there have been cases of that data being
Confidentiality,
mishandled.
integrity, and availability. Sorry, just wanted to
I
list
missed
the
it. Yeah.
CIA. Yeah, up
There
here.
there have been incidents of that body worn footage being thrown out because it wasn't handled properly from the time of collection to the time of being presented
Yep.
as evidence. And so these things matter hugely, especially for it just says U.S. courts, so we don't know what courts, right? Is it the bankruptcy
Right.
court? Is it federal criminal court? We don't know, but whatever court it is going to have some challenges. Let alone all the different agencies that are involved. You figure the SEC, they always have a lot of fun cases going on. So this could be a long term impact here.
Yeah. And you know, we're getting into seeing this everywhere, right? And then we have to drive towards security. One of the interesting things about that is you're even seeing that pivot happen inside of Pax8. We know that the growth of security is tantamount to our future success. And so why not bring in, you know, the man himself to talk about this? I am stoked to have Nick Heddy with us, and it is always impressive when a C-suite's willing to sit down and chat with us security nerds. So Heddy, welcome.
Man.
Thank you. Finally, I get invited to the game. What do you got to do around here to get on this
All
show?
the cool kids. Yeah. Tolerate our shenanigans probably is the honest answer there,
That's
Heddy.
the key
So,
requirement. Yes.
I appreciate you being here, man. Listen, so tell everybody that's watching that doesn't know you, which I imagine almost everybody in the world knows you, but tell us what you do and kind of what you do for Pax8, Heddy.
Who is your daddy and what does he do? My name is Nick Heddy, and I am the Chief Commerce Officer here at Pax8, which I'll admit right now is a completely made up title. And it means
Okay.
I get to work on all the fun things, new revenue streams, helping to drive that revenue and gain productivity. Get to work on all the cool marketing stuff that we are cooking up all the time, and get to work on fun events like Beyond.
That is awesome. And we will get to Beyond. We said this is a teaser for Beyond.
This
And
is
if
a
anybody's
teaser.
been watching the news yesterday, you're probably going to know where we're going with this eventually. But Hetty, since you talked about doing all the fun stuff, and I can attest, you're a pretty fun dude in all the times I've gotten to hang out with you. Do you have a fun fact? We do this at Pax8, and maybe it'll be one I've never heard before, but tell us a fun fact there, Hetty.
Yes, my fun fact for today, and I have done thousands of these, but a fun fact that I that I haven't been able to say before is employee number 8. Some people know that, and the legend is it was just PAX before I got there, but I wasn't there. I wouldn't know. So the fun fact is I am coming up on 10 years, and we'll be hitting it in a few
Man.
days. So that is
Yeah.
exciting.
Well, and in Pax8, that's like dog years, right? Like I
It's
don't
a
mean that
long
in any
time. Yeah.
pejorative or negative term, but it's like that'd be like 70 years of a career if we're honest, and which actually
A
kind of
PAX
brings
year
me
is
to my
8
next.
years, so
Yeah,
64
yeah.
years.
Oh, it is 8 years. You're right. That's true. That's fair. It's I'm falling off brand here. I appreciate you being there for that. So we talk about this. You were employee 8. You've been here for forever. You've worn every hat. I don't think you've ever been janitor, but I bet you've cleaned out a trash can before, right? So I think the conversation is, tell me about your journey, right? Let's take you way back down the road to when you started at Pax8. What was that world like, and what's that journey been like, to go through what's presumably for you to be where you are, a growth and maturation of 80, 64 years or whatever it is, right? I think it's 80, but yeah, fair.
Yeah. So it has been a long, amazing, fun journey. When I started, I was the first salesperson. So I had been around for $0 to where we are today. It's just surreal to even think about. But
Yeah.
started my career as a salesperson. I was a director before, and I walked into Pax8 and needed to prove a new model. And before I could ask anybody to do that, I felt it was necessary to jump in and do it myself and prove that the model would work and walk a mile in those shoes, as they say. And early on, it was the PAX80 triple tap, which was 80 calls, 80 emails, and 80 LinkedIn invites as LinkedIn was really just
Oh
starting to
man.
get going. Man, it was intense. It was fun. We didn't have any products that anybody wanted in those days, so
Yeah.
it was a whole
Yeah,
it
you
was a
heard
whole lot of
John. You heard John say this on his call he did with Julian the other day. They're like, yeah, you got to get some customers. Like, yeah, yeah, we'll get customers. Don't worry, we got that. We got that. Well, you got to get some products. Yeah, 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 we'll get some products. Don't worry about it. We got that. So I'm assuming you were probably in both seats of that in some capacitance of getting some products and getting some customers with your triple eights or your
the
80s.
the
So,
old chicken and the egg scenario. Yes,
right.
didn't have products that anybody wanted, and so the pitch went something like, "Hey, you guys remember John Street? Yeah, MX Logic. Yeah, yeah, yeah. We're doing something else with him. You guys should buy from us. What products do you have? Well, how many partners you got? Well,
You know, his little cloak and dagger. We like to keep it
Yeah.
secret and close to the vest at the time. So you
so
start there and tell me
yeah.
the next step in the journey, right? Yeah.
So started there, began to see some early success despite the challenges and headwinds, and moved into a manager role, director role. I was actually finishing up my MBA at University of Colorado. Go Buffs, prime time, and wrapped up my MBA in marketing. And I would walk out of my marketing classes and walk into the office and bring some good ideas from class and say, "Hey, who's doing this?" They'd say, "You are. You're doing this now." So, uh, got to do a lot of fun things like invent the wingman, and
Yeah.
talk about disruption being broken and blow up lots of things. And gain momentum, got better vendors on the line card, and became SVP of sales and marketing and got the reins over marketing and uh, turned that into a CRO gig and watched this thing just grow 100% year over year over year. And man, fast forward to today, uh, standing in New York and seeing our
Mm.
name on the Nasdaq sign, or flying to Indonesia for a SKO with 80 sales reps from 9 different countries, or being in EMEA 2 weeks ago and getting to talk to the crews. And I'm going to say all these names right: Farnborough, Bristol, Zwolle, and Munich. So it's just, and it's been a surreal journey for me, and I am humbled when I think about the beginnings. And yeah, we empty the dishwasher and the trash can, and what do I do? Whatever it takes, every single day.
Yeah. I think that's probably the most summative answer of that, right? And Dom, I think, you've been along for a good number of these latter years at Pax8, right? The changes are
Yeah.
huge, but
It's crazy. I actually, one of my favorite interview questions when we're hiring is, how do you interact with chaos? And right before I asked that question, I explained like some of that Pax8 growth story. And it's a great question. The ones that have answered it well have succeeded with us. So it's a great, you need an interview question.
Yeah.
Strategies are great until you get punched in the nose, right?
True
Yeah,
story.
exactly.
And Hetty, one of the things that you talked about before the show when we were kind of in the green room was, we said we run out of hotel rooms for Beyond. I mean, like we're at cap. I mean, almost, right? If you carry a few, sign up now if you still can. But when you think about that, you're like, well, we could just bunk up. We could put. And I was joking, and you said what? What was your response?
Ryan Walsh was my bunkmate for about 3 years when we, sat in the back of the plane next to the John, and, we shared hotel rooms.
On a positive note, you can always get to the toilet first from there, though, right? Because you can like cut somebody off
Yes.
in the aisle before if they're being polite. Like it's perfect. I digress, but that's the point. You've watched it mature. You've grown, and you and I had that chat outside one day when I was in town, and I said, man, have you looked back on your life at how much you've had to mature just to be where you're at, and to learn from failure, and to learn from what doesn't work, and to learn from when those good ideas didn't apply where we are and used to apply but now do not. And you saw the wingman go away, and you saw us change to new branding and themes and all of that. But one of the things that we're seeing through this journey too, in my opinion, is the real commoditization of a lot of what the initial value prop has been for MSPs, a lot of what the initial value prop would be for even distribution in its current conversation before this. What are your thoughts of how that changes in this new world of a very data-driven, consumer, a very, very educated consumer? Tell me how that's changed your orgs over time a little bit.
Yeah, that's a perfect segue. Just like, uh, great leaders need to transform what they do to be successful and have to adapt, right? It's not the smartest or the strongest, but those who adapt are those who are going to survive. And you have to transform yourself constantly, and you can't do that by watching the widgets you have always watched. And so you have to be really aware of it. You have to be intentional about transforming and thinking about what the future looks like. And yeah, going from one salesperson to 600 salespeople around the world, with offices in 18 different countries. Uh, yeah, it is all about the data.
It's
It's all
nuts.
about transforming, and yes, those commodities aren't going to go away, but those things are being shot by price. And if that's what you're leading with, and that's how you're winning business, if you win with price, you lose with price. So the future of selling is data. It is all about
Yep.
the data, and I think that is a theme that will persist through beyond. And the journey today, we did make some big investments in documenting our sales methodology, which focuses on how do we help partners grow, how do we help them get
Yep.
efficient, and how do we help them reduce risk. And those things are the same across any business leader, any business, any organization, any challenges they're facing. If you can solve for one or many of those three things, then you're going to be winning the game. And if you can leverage data, I know a lot of salespeople have
Thanks for the
great
game plug, by
intuition.
the way. That was
There you
pretty good.
go.
Thank you.
I know a lot of great salespeople think it's all about intuition and relationship, but when you can affirm that intuition in using data, then that takes it to the next level.
Yes. Specifically for everybody that's watching, we said we'd do maybe some teasers. There may have been a teaser in that statement alone from Hetty. You may see some thematic aspects around data and surfacing things, maybe related to a marketplace. I don't know. We'll see what happens. But one of the things that I think comes out of that is, how is the message you've had to our MSPs, to partners, had to change from a sales perspective because of this focus on data and growth? Like, people watch mine and Dom's show to literally learn every week, right? And as they get that understanding, how do you have to respond to be relevant as a salesperson to add that value you just talked about, right? That's the question I'd pose to you there, Eddie.
Yeah, I think I give this message sometimes when I'm on stages. Our partners are all unique snowflakes, and what that means is it is assessing where a partner is, and what makes it even harder is we have 30,000 partners, we have almost 500,000 customers, and so you can't trust your intuition to suggest the next logical product for each customer of every partner that we have. It's just impossible. But AI can, data can. And so if you can leverage that data and give each customer unique value, and you can give that value to partners so that when they have their QBRs, when they have their check-in, when they bring donuts and coffee on a Friday to their favorite customer, if you are armed with data, it just adds value to your customer, and man, they want you to come in, and it's not a
Yeah.
bother when you make that phone call. They want to answer that call because they know when they answer it, the value you give them is value they give to their customers.
Yeah, I mean, you see that playing out a lot with the SSCs. I get to work with them, security sales consultants. Sorry for us no following acronyms, but when I get to work with them, I get to see how they're coming in and bringing things that make the MSP think about things outside of where their current paradigm is, right? Forcing them to kind of think about, oh, I'd never really even thought about that. I mean, I know CIS clearly says that I need to cover mobile phones, but I'm not doing any of those things that Tom talks about with mobile application management or MAM policies. I'm not doing endpoint management and protection for my mobile devices or mobile, if we have any British folks here in the audience. But we're not doing any of those things, and so having that command of the message and the ability to really educate, has that changed how this works for you said bringing data and relevant data? Is that the delivery mechanism that you've seen develop in our world as well?
Yeah, one of the main themes of our command and message training, which is a partner value framework, is all about being Audible ready. Which, as a Denver Bronco and Peyton Manning fan, another plug for Beyond. I gotta say
Number two.
that being Audible ready means that you have the knowledge, you have the data, you have the value that partners want, but you can't just jam it on them. You need to
Right.
listen, and they need to be ready to receive it. And so when they come to the table and say, "Here is the challenge I have," you are Audible ready to call the right play that is specific to the need that the partner has at that moment.
Yeah, and I think that's the point. I have been accused. I know this is hard to believe, Dom. Don't make fun of me too much, but I've been accused of jamming the message down the throat a couple of times in my life. I know this
Just
might
once,
shock you.
twice. Yeah.
But I think you're right. You have to feed it at the time that the team can actually receive it. If you are playing football and you're calling that audible, it's because you've seen something that you're not prepared for. It's because you understand the defense that's there from this offensive perspective, right? And you're able to say, we need to change. Or a defensive audible, right? We need to change. We need to move. And I think that's the point. Is it's almost like being a great coach, right? It's almost like having those things ready, listening, seeing the field in front of them, and giving that advice. And that brings me up to kind of beyond in my mind, right? Like I think in some ways that is the entire purpose of Beyond, is let's get everybody that's coaching together with everybody that's playing the football game, right? And I can say that because we're in the US, right? If I was maybe in Australia, I'd have to go with like some other methodology of rugby or league or one of those things. But here the point is you're seeing that. So tell me about your thoughts on Beyond. Let's talk about our first year. We're trying to get 1,000 seats, and where are we at on that status? And then we'll go from there. I'll ask some other questions.
Yeah. So number one, we have been planning this thing since 2019. That's hard to believe, but we planned it, locked up some of those speakers, and then we had to punt 3 years in a row. And so it feels like this is some pent up demand and a long time coming. And I can admit it now. Now that we have surpassed the recruitment targets, it might have been a little bit of a long shot to, in your first inaugural event, expect 1,000 people to show up for the first show. But I think that
Yeah.
speaks to the value we all bring to each other. And another bit of John Street knowledge is, look, life is too short to work with people that you don't like. And we are
Yeah.
fortunate to have a great ecosystem of partners, of vendors. And so some of this is going to be a celebration of the journey we have all been on. It's not like I've been on this by myself. There are 30,000 partners, there are almost 100 vendors, there are over 1,500 employees that have all been on this journey in the trenches. And so taking a moment to celebrate the moment is absolutely going to be a part of Beyond. But it is about the innovation, and it's not about um, 10 years ago back there or where we're at right now. It's about helping our partners make their businesses bulletproof and take it beyond what everyone else is thinking about. And so it's going to be lots of innovation, lots of great content, great speakers, great vendors, helping our partners bring more value to their customers, to their businesses. And that is going to be the main focus, as everything at Pax8 is always about. How do we help partners bring more value?
Yeah, I was excited when, when this first was brought up. It started as, let's let our internal academy teachers teach. Let's let our experts go show off their expertise. Let's tackle topics that people are asking about. And then what's great about that is, even though it started in that pure academy, pure, educational, pure space, you then bring in the content team, you bring in Rob Ray and Jen Bodell and your team over there, and you now end up winding up with a really awesome conference that makes it fun and exciting and a lot of things to do and well tracked and well experienced and thought out, but also giving people those little vignettes of what they're wanting to learn, right? And one of those examples would be the pre-day stuff that we're doing, and we can maybe finally talk about some teasers there that we'll get into. But Dom, what's your biggest excitement about Beyond coming up from that perspective?
Man, I've got a lot of excitements around Beyond, because I was around when we were hyping up Wingman 2020 in the office. That was the first we publicly announced it. We put in our email signatures, and then COVID. So man, I've had it pent up for 3 years. So I'm super excited for this event. I also got a sneak peek at the Pax8 booth yesterday, and that thing is going to be ridiculous. So definitely make sure you hit the Pax8
It
booth.
will not
You won't miss
disappoint.
it. But we dropped a press release yesterday, and a few shows ago we were talking about this security pre-day that we've been putting together, and we were very vague, very much on purpose, because the sky laser kept attacking us for getting too close to the edge. But tell us about this press release mentioning CrowdStrike yesterday. What's that all about?
Yes, our partners have been asking for enterprise tools, and I'll say that how we always select the next vendor on the line card is listening to partners and partner demand and what they think we should be adding next. CrowdStrike is an amazing product, and the only knock against it would be, look, it's kind of hard to consume for an MSP who sells in a multi-tenant fashion. Sometimes you got to commit to a large amount. Sometimes you got to prepay for a big commitment, and so it's just the one knock would be it's not consumable. And so we took that feedback to the team at CrowdStrike, and they said, Pax8, we love you. We love your ecosystem. Can you please help us get after this market in a meaningful way? And we said we would love to. And they
Yeah.
were kind enough. Yesterday, this was going to be a big announcement at Beyond only, but they were kind enough to mention us on their earnings call. And then George Kurtz himself jumped on Jim Cramer Mad Money and gave us one more shout out. So it was pretty amazing. And I think the real winners here are the managed service providers, right?
Agreed.
This is an
100%.
enterprise tool. They've got 26 modules. You can solve a whole lot of problems, from the endpoint, from MDR to XDR, from data, from workloads, just about anything. So it is truly an enterprise tool that we are going to bring to the MSP ecosystem.
And not just that, but they're bringing the enterprise tool down to a very consumable capability for those MSPs, right? It's more than just that. They have their MDR plays. They have all kinds of things that are coming that really make this a holistic ecosystem. I'm pretty excited. In fact, if I wanted to nerd out a bit, the coolest part I saw was the lab design that they made for that pre-day. Now, we couldn't talk about this a month ago, so this is the
Right.
the fourth or so, I think, release that we're giving out here, which is, there's a pretty cool adversarial lab to be able to experience the game that we're going to play, which everybody's familiar with, of backdoors and breaches, but now extending it out into an experiential environment that's more than just a lab, where you can now go hunt for a threat potentially in your EDR. You can now go dig through and find this vulnerability that we created. And there's going to be some really cool stuff come out of that. I'm not sure what all makes it into the full lab, but as I watched the design sessions, I was pretty blown away. They were building that just for us for this release. So That's a pretty big one to give out there, Heddy. I don't know if I got approval yet, so we'll see if it's a beg for forgiveness situation. But I'm pretty excited.
We'll see if the laser beam's focusing on you.
Yeah, no laser yet. That's how I lost my left eye. It's unfortunate, but yeah, that's awesome. Heddy, I'd leave it back to you then. Is there anything else that is coming at Beyond that's going to be a shocker? I don't want to give away all of them. There's just so many. But what else is there for these people coming that you can come up with? I'm gonna try to drag one more out of you.
Yes, I said I would tease out a few. One, I think it's very fitting that we waited to get the best MC in the world to host this. The one and only Rob Ray, who is continuing his life's work of adding value to MSPs. We do have a great entertainment on the final day. Somebody that may take you back to your way back days, maybe some late 90s is
Okay.
when this entertainer was popular. I'm trying to be careful to not give away too many
So
clues.
it's one entertainer, because I know you can't say it, so I'm gonna try to get real close. But it's one
entertainment.
One entertainment. I see.
One entertainment.
Okay, entertainment.
One unit of entertainment. Yeah.
I think that was my
There you
laser
go.
beam, so I'll back off of this one. But I'm stoked about it. That's gonna be super cool. I definitely can't say, right? So very good. I hope you're all joining us for Beyond. I hope everybody watching is here. This is at least 2 weeks out. Next week, obviously, we have some cool stuff too. But I really am excited about the things that are going to be coming on from that. And Heddy, when you think about having a successful Beyond, in your mind, what does success look like? And I don't just want the marketing can speak. I know you're awesome at it, but what does success look like? If you were closing your eyes at the end of Beyond, what would be successful?
That partners walked away and said, "Wow, that was really valuable. I can go back to my office and this is going to have an impact on my business." I know we've asked all of our vendors, all of our breakout sessions are jam packed with value, but again, like being Audible ready and coming to the line and not trying to jam your message. The people who are attending the conference need to come in, be engaged. You get out of it what you put into it. So hopefully everyone's coming ready to find that one piece or 2 or 3 pieces that they can take back that's really going to add value to the business. So we are an OKR company. We read Measure What Matters from John Doerr, and we do have a Bhag. And I hope this isn't too controversial, but we want to host the largest
Yeah. Hold on. What's a Bhag? I know what it is. What's a Bhag? We do acronyms on the show.
Do I
you got
point
your first
up
one.
on acronyms?
You point up.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yes, a Bhag is a big, hairy, audacious goal. It is a target that is not a lay down. It is specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and time bound. So it's a SMART goal. Ding.
Yep.
And
smart.
it is it's basically something that you have to stretch yourself to really do. So we want to host the largest MSP event in the world in 2025. So we're giving ourselves a ramp period. This first year is 1,000. Who knows what next year holds? But we want Pax8 in our event to be the epicenter of MSP community and where people come to get the news, the latest breaking. And so we are laying out the Bhag, and the challenge has now been shared publicly.
For everybody about Bhags, I've had that term come up in my life now 4 or 5 times. And each one of them came with a monumental success, right? The first Bhag we had was 1 million in revenue by the end of the first fiscal year. I think it was 2013. And when we hit it, we all went to Vegas and we all celebrated like it was the $20 million number, right? The next time was when we said we were going to hit 5 million, right? The next time was when we were going to merge to be over 30. And the last one really for me was I started out with a group of my friends 2 years ago, a year and a half ago, and said, I'm going to shave my beard and we're going to raise money for charity. And that Bhag we said was $100,000. We're like, there's no way we're going to hit $100,000. And then we hit $200,000 and $206,000, right? And it's one of those things where what I love about that aspirational goal, Heddy, personally for me, is that it goes all the way back to, expect what you inspect what you expect from Rex, or in your case, that setting those goals and understanding it. But if you don't stretch for that, right, and you fall short, well, then it's going to suck any more than if you stretch for that and fall short. It's going to be way above what you'd hoped for. And I think your value statement of saying, make people walk away saying this was valuable for me, I learned something that's going to improve my business, ties directly to that, because it builds the camaraderie. It brings people into the community. It shows we care and that we're investing in them. And I think what's interesting about our unique position is because we're a marketplace, we are only successful if they're successful. Right. And I think that's what's so perfectly lined up with this. I happen to live in the cybersecurity nerd world. That's where I do my part to reduce risk. Right. But these other pieces are all part of us just wanting you to hit your BHAG, you to hit the thing that makes you the most successful as an MSP, whatever that definition is. And I would urge you to stretch it a smidge. Right. And yeah, I think that pretty well hits it on the head. So any closing thoughts, Dom or Heddy's got some? Go.
I got one more.
Okay.
It would be amiss if I did not spend a moment to talk about what I think is going to be the best session of the entire event. No, it's not mine. So do not miss the keynote on day 2, where Scott Chasen, man, I thought I had vision when I started, and now I realize that I'm Charlie Day from It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia with the pin tacks on the wall, pulling the yarn in between them, trying to get people to see what I'm seeing.
Me too.
Scott Chasen has vision, and he spent a lot of time with the entire team here, from John Street to the people who are talking to the partners every day. And man, he has provided with a clear vision that is an absolute game changer for partners, for vendors, for your customers. And I can't give any more away from that. I don't want to steal any of his thunder. But if there is one segment that you need to watch, it is Scott Chasen's keynote on day 2, Tuesday. That's the one.
Yeah. Yeah. True
concur.
story.
Yeah.
You know, I'm
anytime Scott's
panel,
talking, like it's time to listen. I don't know.
Yeah.
Anytime I've seen him on stage.
That's true. I've even rewatched it afterwards. It was because I missed things, right? But you know,
so part of real quick story. Sorry. So
good.
we flew out to Jola, and we were having a partner dinner, and the conversation was getting good and getting heated. And I kept prodding Scott until he said, "Fine, I'm gonna go get my laptop." And we made sure that nobody had their cameras out, and I made him give his pitch that he's going to give at Beyond to about 10 partners in Jola. And jaws were on the table, and I would expect the same effect to happen, but this is now battle tested. There's been one group of partners in the world who has seen it, and that was in the Netherlands.
That's awesome. Well, now I'm going to track down who was at that meeting and see if I can see it. No, I have an inkling of some of the things that are in there, and it really does go towards the data and how that really matters to you. And you know, one of my data sets happens to be part of that that I've been working on for almost a year and a half under the sales team around mapping products to CIS so that you can select them. There's some really cool stuff coming. So I think,
but
that's
not just data, right?
Awesome
like there is so much data. Data is everywhere, all around us, right? It's about how the trends that are happening around us, that data, but then putting your unique lens and what's important to you and your customers. And so it is trusting your intuition as a partner who serves their customers well, but having the data to back and affirm your intuition, which is going to bring more value and make you a better partner.
You nailed that, right? Like, so Bob Coppage, I have to name his name like once every 3 months. It's a contractual obligation. But Bob Coppage, you know, said to me one day early in my presentation career, he said, "Matt, nobody watches you to watch you be the hero. Everyone that watches you to be the hero." And I think that's kind of the thematic aspect of what we do and what this keynote's going to be about is, and you just said it right there. We want to empower you to be able to walk away and win with your client and look great and feel great and enjoy and win your BHAGs and those things. And so, you know, I always like back to it. And you're right. There's data everywhere. It doesn't mean it means anything. And it doesn't mean that you can use it and make it actionable. And I think that is the critical aspect of what we're going to be talking about. I happen to be leading a panel on day 1 of some really amazing, diverse industry experts talking about really this concept. If your mature consumer gets more and more mature, how do you stop being and I'm sorry, Gartner, I love you, a Gartner-driven invented term world of marketing to one that educates and commands the message and teaches and instructs and brings the audibles and all of those things. And each of them being in a very different place. Like one's a CTO, one's a chief science officer, one's a head of product. And so this could be a very interesting panel. But we'll be talking about just that subject in a lead up to day 2's keynote. So it's going to be a really fun one. That's my one teaser, or second teaser, I suppose I'm allowed to let out. So I'm excited about it, y'all. Dom, anything else to close us out, and then we'll wrap it up and see if anything else comes up.
I just really love to remind people going to events, and I do the same thing at boot camps and mission briefings, is make sure you also take advantage of the time you have to just network with other partners. There are times in the agenda where there's no vendors, there's less of us, and the whole point of that is for you to talk to other partners, because that's what's beautiful about the MSP ecosystem is when we all get together, a lot of innovation happens, and coopetition, we call it, or cooperation and competition occur, and we really drive the needle forward for the SMB segment as a whole. So definitely take advantage of the networking times, both with your Pax8 team and with just other partners at the event. It's hugely valuable. It's some of the most important work you can do at any of these events, right? And I love that time to just speak candidly about what you've got going on. So definitely take advantage of that. We'll be around. I know Matt, myself, and certainly Nick will be there the entire time, but there are so many Pax8ers coming to Beyond, with the intent being just to help you, one, have a great event and know where you're going, because the Gaylord is a big place, but also make sure you're getting the absolute most out of your experience. Please bring your walking shoes. I've done boardrooms there. That is a walking kind of venue, but it's a beautiful one. But that would be my biggest piece of advice, is definitely see Scott's keynote, but also make sure you network with your peers.
Heddy, any last advice? I mean, it's always great when you have the grandfather of our revenue ops and commerce teams. So anything else you'd close with? Because I agree, Dom, that's a big one.
Yeah, I think there are a lot of partners, especially those who have been around for more than a minute, who would say, look, the shows in MSP land haven't been great always. And a lot of them would go to shows just to talk to peers and bounce real challenges off them. Before the content was great and tailored for MSPs who serve SMB, it was all about that conversation that you had over dinner or over a drink. Or after a speaker came up and missed the mark. It's like, well, this guy doesn't know what he's talking about. What he really meant to say is this.
I thought you were going to call me out today, Heddy.
And then you would have a real conversation. And I think, well, that obviously won't be true at our event. Of course not with Matt Lee hosting events. But I think it is about those interactions. And we've been very intentional, because we know that, yes, there's lots of great content, but there's lots of booth time. There's lots of network time. There's lots of celebration time. And so make sure you got a plan in place where you can hand off some of those fires, because it's not like they're going to stop just because you're in Denver. Make sure you got a plan in place so you can hand some of those fires off so that you can be engaged. And so make sure you're not spending time dealing with an issue in your hotel room. Make sure that you carve it out, have a good plan, and come in open mind and ready to learn some hopefully some new things. I'm sure not all of it will be, but we want to give you value. We want you to tell us how to make it better next year, and we want you to come back next year to make sure that we did what you told us to do.
Yeah, that's a great one. Actually, that piece of it, being able to be there and be in the moment and live and think about how I'm going to take this away and how I'm going to do something with it is really, 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 really critical. Which means, yes, go drink, but don't get drunk so bad that you can't attend the next morning and listen and learn.
PPSA, right? PPSA. Now you gave me the trigger. Pax8 public service announcement. This is a celebration, yes, and let's celebrate and let's have a good time, but don't celebrate too much, because there's lots of good content every day.
This has been a public service announcement.
Hey, we've all learned that the hard way. I remember my first conference. All right, I got nothing done at that conference. Now I know.
We
Everyone's guilty. Everyone's guilty.
Right.
That's me. I guess that's my add to this. Don't drink too much. We'll be all right. It's going to be great.
Please remember, we are at a very high latitude here, so you the
Oh,
dynamics
that's
of the
even
way your
better.
body
Good
uses
call out.
oxygen
Man, these are
is
freebies.
dramatically different than most areas in the United States. So
That is true. That is true. I guess that's a fun fact. I drank a 6-pack and got blotto on a golf course of like 3-2 beer the first time I ever went to altitude. It was wild. I was with my uncle. It was terrible. But yes, I digress. It's going to be great. You know, Heddy, it's been awesome having you here. I really appreciate it. I'm super excited about Beyond. I'm super excited about where we're going as a company. I'm also super excited to have gotten to have our moments when we got to bash our own heads together on me and the client side of Pax8 and watching that growth just keep going until where I'm now on the ship. And you had a lot to do with that. So I'd want to take this second just to publicly thank you for believing in me 2 years ago and bringing me on. So exactly. Thank you, my friend. All right, Dom, let's wrap this up and try to set the stage for what we've got next coming up in the next couple of weeks. I think there's a few things that we
got
wanted to
a
touch
lot
on.
of call to actions in the run of show today, so we got to get through them all. Thank you so much, Nick, for joining us on the game. It's been a fantastic show. We're really excited to bring you on the show, and we're excited to bring even more guests. Quick announcement about Beyond. I mean, not like it's the first. Technically Unraveled host Kristen Fehrenbach will actually be co-hosting with David Powell on Monday and Tuesday at 3 p.m. live right here on YouTube. Post-day shows about how Beyond went. So you definitely want to catch those. If you can't make the event, you can catch that post-day YouTube with Kristen and David. As always, don't forget to like, share, subscribe. Please join us next week. We have John Murchison from BlackByte coming to talk about some new and interesting perspectives in terms of incident response and that right of boom conversation. And some left of boom prevention measures. I think all of that is an important topic of conversation. Don't forget to catch Technically Unraveled, Academy Live, and all the other exciting things happening on Pax8 Live. And we'll see you next week.
Yeah, and John, to add to that, we're going to be talking about right of boom views for left of boom people, right? We're going to be bringing on some awesome guests. I won't give her name out. You might be able to guess it. She'll be joining us as well next week. That's a little bit of a teaser, and you will not want to miss it. I will see you then. So just a smidge. She's way cooler than both of us combined. See y'all.
See y'all next week.